In this video, I'm going to discuss the size of the shape versus the size of the frame, and also how big your painting should be. And it's all in Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, where the Kindle is only $5. The size of elements in a picture varies with the size of the frame. So if the elements are small and densely packed like dots in a photograph, the elements create values or degrees of darkness. As they get bigger, they become texture, patterns, shapes, and finally a foreground object. The relationship between the format and the shape can transmit a message as if caged, reclining, or pushing. The viewpoint with the most extreme size contrasts is the worm's eye view, where we're looking up at the figures and they're looking down at us, both literally and figuratively. The worm's eye view also makes the boat and the train appear huge and formidable. The front side of this boat is more than twice the back side, making it appear threatening. Here's a painting from a worm's eye view called The Portrait of a Gentleman, usually attributed to Charles Mellon. The subject certainly was not hiding his stoutness and chose a profile view that best shows his girth. And he's standing next to a stone pillar, another weighty object, as if the two of them are being compared. Eye level is at the top of this step, indicating that the painter was on the steps when he was doing this portrait. And the foreshortening makes the head of the figure appear quite small, emphasizing the size of his body. If we use extreme foreshortening for an animal where we only see his snout, it makes it difficult to understand what we're looking at. But for a foreshortened horse like the one I drew here is more understandable because we see part of his head while still seeing a very large snout. And the size difference between his snout and his little head gives him kind of a cute, dumb look. And we can compare the little hair on his chin to the hair on his head. Now, on the other hand, so this one is not really understandable and this one is better. But when we talk about a fist, this is totally understandable. We know what this is. And it looks more powerful and aggressive than this sort of side view where the fist doesn't seem to be coming directly at us. The size of an object also depends on our field of vision. If the person is on top of a mountain, he has a wide field of vision, able to see the top and the bottom of the mountain. So he has a pretty good idea as to how big that mountain is. But a person in the valley has a narrow field of vision, and he only sees the sides of the mountain, so he can't estimate how tall it is. In both cases, without an object on the mountain, like a little mountain climber, the extent of the mountain is really unknown. When I was in a boat ride in the Galapagos, these rocks didn't seem very big, but when we got closer, I realized that they were enormous. And why do these look so big? Because we're close to them, so we have a better understanding of how big they are relative to us. And also, we don't see the top, so we don't know really how tall they are. This picture, called Boy's Day, shows huge size differences between the foreground fish here and the two in the distance. Although you can establish dominance by size differences, it usually isn't very effective in the long run, according to Jack Myers. In this picture called The Circus, the athletes in the distance are tiny, emphasizing the great distance that this one in front must travel. And with all these different curves, we really need these orange pillars to stabilize the picture. Rue de Paris is about 7 feet tall, so the figures in front are nearly life-size, and the eyes of the figures in the painting lie on the eye level of the viewer, meaning that they're as tall as the viewer. So both the large size of the painting and the position of eye level makes the viewer feel that he could just walk into the painting. This red line is eye level because it's where the vanishing point for the buildings lie. And the lantern and its reflection divide the picture in half, which generally isn't advised. The left side shows distance while the right side shows the foreground figures. This middle figure isn't halfway between the foreground figures and the distant one in terms of size, but rather closer to the size of this distant one. And we generally don't want anything to be exactly in the middle of anything. The legs of the figures in front are cropped, but not at an obvious joint like a knee, because that would look awkward. But the man on the right is cropped down the middle, again not recommended. But since we see more than half of his umbrella, it looks casual and realistic. Such awkward cropping resembles a photograph, as if the artist caught a moment in time, whereas this painting is actually carefully composed. It's a rainy day and everyone is either looking down or away from passers-by, and the umbrellas shelter the people from the rain and perhaps from each other. And the umbrellas are the motifs that tie the painting together. This painting is well balanced since there's interest in both sides, and the foreground figures are the dominant feature. In this picture, the decreasing size of the trees is the dominant feature. We know there's a downhill here because we lose the bottom of the trees, the street is relatively wide right here, and because the vanishing point for the trees, this white dot, lies below eye level, which is the red line. We know this red line is eye level because it lies on the horizon, and because the vanishing point for the houses, this green dot, lies on that red line, and anything that must remain horizontal, like houses, converge toward a vanishing point on eye level. To review what I said in the last video about scaling and proportions, in this picture we have hierarchic scaling, where Mary is the biggest figure because she's the most important. And also, the proportions of Jesus aren't those of a baby. His head is too small compared to his body. Presumably, they didn't want to show a babbling baby because that doesn't comport with his importance. This table lists some of the pros and cons of a large versus a small painting, and I'll let you read this on your own, but I just have a few comments. For a large painting, the room has to be large enough so we can step back and see the whole painting. Otherwise, we feel overwhelmed by the painting. Large ones teach the artist to use her arm when painting, which is much harder to do with small paintings. Pencil drawings shouldn't be large because they may appear thin and labored. And some subjects just don't work well if large, like a larger-than-life baby or a bursting flower that may appear overwhelming if large. Small paintings force the artist to simplify, especially the color scheme, and it may propel the artist's growth because she can make more small paintings than large ones, and she still has to solve the same compositional problems. Charcoal drawings may appear thick and clumsy if too small, and some subjects like mountains may not translate well if small. So remember my book, Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, where the Kindle is only $5, and please remember to subscribe.